So a little while back, I had posted a video just discussing some mods I was doing on the Steam Deck. I discussed the 32 gigabyte RAM upgrade. I discussed the aluminum back shell I just got done doing, um, and I thought that was pretty cool because I'd never seen anybody do that at the time, and thought it could be pretty useful. And and a couple other things, but I was discussing like the possibility of doing an OLED mod. Now, obviously, there's no kits on the market you could buy to do an OLED and an LCD model Steam Deck. But I was sort of discussing how it's possible, and I had actually shown a little bit of the work I had started just when I was sort of brainstorming about it and getting everything going. And fast forward to today, and here it is. This is an OLED display in an LCD model Steam Deck. This is a 1080p OLED. Now the panel is capable of 165 hertz, but it'll at 1080p the deck's not going to do 165 hertz. I think we're targeting 80. We're trying for 90, but some tricks go into that. And but it looks like we can do 80. Currently, right at this moment, this is 1080p 60. So, you might be wondering, oh, is there some driver board or some kind of HDMI trickery or something going on in there? And no, there's not. This is an OLED, custom made, and it's pretty much hooked up just like the stock LCD is. Now, grab a panel over here. This is the stock LCD. Yeah, see, I even wrote it on there. Stock anti-glare. That's the 512 gigabyte model, and there's a ribbon. So this is one of my samples of the OLED. You can see this is quite different. And you can see I also have a custom FPC cable here as well. So this has a little bit of circuitry just to do a boost conversion on the voltage that's coming in, but it's nothing too insane. There's not too much going on there. And it's obviously a custom form factor because the placement of the FPC connector on this one is in a different spot, so it has to route sort of out of the way and into the hole. But I'll get into that a little bit more later because that's not necessarily going to be the case. But anyway, that's my anti-glare sample, and it turned out well, but there's too many there's too much anti-glare to it. Like it's too strong, and it actually looks kind of dull, so I got to get a new sample of that. But this is the gloss sample, and this panel looks great. We haven't really gotten the color calibration yet, but it really does look fantastic, and it's still early in getting it working, but in HDR isn't technically enabled, but in 10-bit color is not technically enabled on this either yet. It's still running on 8-bit color, which is what the stock panel does, but this panel is capable of 10-bit, which is necessary for HDR. But I'll tell you, even right now, just putting some HDR like movie on this and watching it, it looks HDR. I mean, it's like the brightness of that HDR content still shows through well. And so I was actually a little surprised that it looks like that, because I was expecting it, to be a little bit dull, but it's not at all. And even right now, with the color not quite calibrated and HDR not technically enabled, this thing looks fantastic. It's a little bit too saturated, but again, that all comes in color calibration. And you know, I definitely wanted to make a video just to say this is the first time you saw it. This is the first time you saw an OLED panel and an LCD Steam Deck. So it's always neat to be the first at doing something. Now, of course, I don't want to sit here and say that I did it by myself. I had help, quite a bit of help, from another very smart guy who actually knew a lot of this going into it. He knows actually quite a bit about the whole process. He's more knowledgeable than I am. Me, I sort of already brought the hardware and sort of already assessed the possibility and brought it to him, and he got on board. So we're kind of tag teaming this and getting this going, and as you can see, so far so good. So let me I'll just throw in a Tomb Raider benchmark quick. And I don't have, just as you can see, there's nothing plugged into this. There's no funny business. It's the OLED running natively on the Steam Deck. So I'm just going to get into a Shadow of the Tomb Raider benchmark really quick. Just sort of show what we're doing here. And this deck has 32 gigabytes installed, but the BIOS is only set up for 16 gigs because this OLED mod needs its own BIOS. So the BIOS is modified for the OLED, but it's not modified for 32 gigabytes. It's not really a problem. The fella that does the BIOS can handle that. Let's see if I can get this in a little closer. Now, this is just recording from a cell phone, and taking a picture of a screen is not really a simple thing to do with a cell phone. So it doesn't quite do the panel justice. See how it looks with the lights off. One thing to take notice of is the aspect ratio difference. Now, this is the stock Steam Deck is a what is it? It's a 16 by 10. It's a 800p display, so it's taller than this one, but it's not as wide. This is the exact same size diagonally as the stock screen. It's just slightly wider because it's a 1080p 16 by 9 panel. And it's actually, in my opinion, a bit more convenient because there's some games that won't run at 16 by 10. So 16 by 9 is, you don't get the black bars at the top and the bottom. But this, even without the color being fully calibrated yet, is miles ahead of the LCD. So it looks like we're running at a whole 29, 30 FPS right now, so it's not spectacular, but this deck is not overclocked or anything. It just has the aluminum back shell as sort of a cooling mod, and like I said, it has 32 gig RAM, but that's not doing any good right now. Okay, so let me cut out of this. Okay, so this is the deck with the back opened up. As you can see, it's nothing different going on than, you know, what looks like a stock FPC cable. It's not the stock FPC, but nothing crazy going on in here. Let's get the motherboard out, and I can kind of show how this works in the deck. So one thing I want to mention while I'm doing this quick teardown is that this panel actually has some advanced features. The controller in it supports some things that you typically don't see in you know, embedded LCDs and stuff like that, because they're just bare panels. So like the panel that you hook up to your desktop PC, it's got plenty of extra circuitry. You have plenty of extra resolutions available, whatever that monitor supports. But that's not the panel itself. That's coming from the extra circuitry that's in the panel. So you can't really stuff extra circuitry inside of a Steam Deck. But the display controller on this panel actually supports scaling. And it's something that we still have to get to work, but it's going to be possible, or it could be possible if we get it working, that you can actually flash a different BIOS to it, and instead of it running at 1080p 80 or 1080p 90, whatever we land at, it could actually also have an 812p or 720p resolution at a much higher refresh rate. So 720p would probably be about 144 hertz, and 812p would probably be, I think, about 120 hertz. So that's a possible future option. And what I'm hoping is, and we have to sort it out, is, you know, maybe I can release this panel at the 1080p 80 and then offer those BIOSes later, as long as that's all that has to be done. You know, the user can do that flash themselves. It's very easy. It's been detailed on the internet. It's just like flashing a stock BIOS. Okay, so this is a custom FPC cable, and that routes up and through. Now this one needs to be adjusted a little bit because it's a little bit long. It should stretch all the way out, and if it does, it kind of goes over that little wall there. So that's not really good. So I gotta, for the time being, I gotta tape this one out here. But this is just prototype stuff. I know what it does. I know how it works. Just got to make a minor tweak and make that a little bit shorter. But the gist of it is this cable here, like that. And there's another one. This is actually how it looks. And the reason for that is because the FPC connector is in a different place than a stock one. You can kind of see this one's lower than this one, but they pretty much match up in the place they come out. And there's actually a boost circuit on this FPC, just to get it up to the right voltage for this panel. But it's pretty minimal boost, and it's not a huge deal. And I haven't fully tested the power consumption yet, but I'll tell you, from what I've seen so far, I like what I see. I got to do a real deep dive into how much power this panel uses, but so far, and I don't want to speak too early, but so far it looks surprisingly low. For how bright this is, what I've seen is very low, but I'll reserve any completely, conclusive comments until I know for certain. But anyway, you can kind of see how this goes. And like I said, I do have to shorten up this FPC cable so it doesn't have that bend, but it's not hurting anything. And the name of this project, by the way, is DeckSight. And when I started it, once I realized, you know, it was a feasible thing to do, but before I had it actually working, set up a crowd supply. And I just kind of didn't really try to promote it too much, because I didn't want to promote something that didn't work or was going to fail. I just wasn't really sure how it was going to go, but so far so good. It's definitely working. We got some bugs we got to iron out, but in time they will be ironed out. So just putting in that FPC cable. Now the downside to this FPC cable is if you damaged it, you'd have to take the screen out to get it out, and that wouldn't be the case with the stock one. Now this is a custom OLED panel, but it starts with a base panel that's already been manufactured, and it's on the market. So the thing is if the campaign hits a certain level of backers, and I can reach a certain minimum order quantity, I can actually just have this panel fully customized, which means they make it from scratch, and I can put the connector here. So you never know what kind of interest these things are going to gather. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great product, but you know, maybe it won't be successful. So I don't want to, I mean, I've already invested quite a bit into this whole thing, quite a bit of time, quite a bit of money. As always, when you do stuff like this, you take a risk, and I'm usually willing to take that risk because I'm an adventurous guy. So this is a little bit of a flip-flop, because in this picture the black Steam Deck actually has the DeckSight OLED installed in it, and the red deck had a Deck HD. The black deck is my test sort of experiment deck, but I had a little mishap with that Steam Deck, and it's currently broken and I have to repair it. But in this picture you can see there's quite a difference. This is another cell phone pic, and it looks terrible, but you can see the OLED on the bottom has much better blacks than even the Deck HD screen, which is an upgrade from the stock LCD. So just something to kind of take note of, you know, the brightness and the black levels. It's a world of difference. So this is sort of a neat little side mention here. I actually got the OLED I was just talking about, the one that's installed in the Steam Deck, and I have my other sample panel here, and that's on my dev board setup. You can't really see that. We were using that for development. We sort of made a thing here, and both running at the same time. This one's running from the USB-C to display port on the dock to my dev setup, and got two OLEDs in one Steam Deck. Wow, whoever thought that was possible? But all right, thank you for watching, and subscribe to the campaign, because that lets me know that people are interested in this, and you know, maybe we can proceed with actually sort of bringing this out there and offering it to people. So I'll put a link in the description so you can go check it out, subscribe to it if you're interested, because this is really a major upgrade. This is probably the best upgrade you are going to do to a LCD Steam Deck. So again, thanks for watching.